Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Downtown Dallas Inc. Board Chair, Mattia Flabiano.
Good morning. Welcome to the 2022 Downtown Dallas Inc. State of Downtown presented by AT&T. So glad you could join us today in the beautiful venue here in the Arts District. I'm so honored to be in my third year, it only seems like two, as DDI's board chairman. Thank you to my fellow board members, many of who are here in the audience today. Thank you very much for being here. In just a few minutes, you will hear from DDI's president and CEO, Jennifer Scripps, who will give you an exclusive look into the results of DDI's recent downtown perception survey. The insights gathered from more than 1,000 residents, workers, stakeholders will inform DDI's work in the near future. We're really excited to hear about the results. Following Jennifer's presentation, our Mayor, Eric Johnson, will take the stage for his State of Downtown conversation, moderated by Dallas Business Journal president and publisher Ollie Chandhok. And if you didn't see the editorial by Mayor Johnson this morning, read it, please. It was very timely. Thank you to our sponsors who will make today possible. Our presenting sponsor, AT&T, our Mayor's VIP breakfast sponsors, Headington Companies, and JBJ Management. Our advocate sponsors, Balfour Beatty, Interiors Resource Group, Matthews Southwest, Encore, Tollison Wealth Management. Thank you to all our partners and sponsors. And last but certainly not least, thank you to each and every one of our DDI members, not only the board, but the Board of Governors and everybody that's here. We cannot do it without your support and the engagement of your companies and all the stakeholders that are downtown. So now it's my pleasure to introduce DDI's president and CEO. Jennifer Scripps joined DDI in April following 6 years of service as City of Dallas Director of Arts and Culture. The Dallas native has hit the ground running, guiding DDI through incredible few months that included the grand opening of our biggest downtown park, Carpenter Park, the ongoing Proposition A campaign to transform our convention center, and much needed funding for Fair Park. The first DDI downtown perception survey before the pandemic, and that's a lot to accomplish in the last 6 months. Please welcome to the stage, Downtown Dallas Inc., President and CEO, Jennifer Scripps.
Thank you, Mattia, and thank you all for being here today. It's wonderful to be with everybody. I'd like to start by welcoming our elected officials, State Representative Angie Chin Button and Dallas City Council members Chad West, Jesse Moreno, and Paul Ridley. And a special thank you to our appointed Park Board members, Park Board President Arun Agrawal, Fania Mondell and Rudy Karimi, who serve downtown's parks. Thank you for all that you do each and every day, your tireless energy to make Dallas better. And so I have a special thank you for all that you have done to advance us to Proposition A. I'm going to start with a quick overview because today, with the editorial in the paper from Mayor Johnson and with early voting starting next week and leading up to Election Day on November 8th, it is the most pressing issue, we believe, facing downtown Dallas. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What is Proposition A? Clicker might help. This is an opportunity for us to invest $1.5 billion in the southwest quadrant of downtown. Downtown Dallas Inc. has been working for 20 years to advance urban mobility, create connected neighborhoods, and provide a unique sense of place in our urban core. I think we can all agree right now that our convention center might not be up to the face that we want to put out to visitors who come from around the world to visit our city. And the best news is it will cost us as local residents nothing. This will be fully paid for by our hotel occupancy tax, and it will renovate the convention center such that it becomes a connection to the south and into the Cedars. It also opens up 29 acres of new development opportunity in downtown that will create vibrancy and an attractive place to come and enjoy the city, whether you are visiting or a Dallas native. But wait, there's more. It also provides $300 million of investment, which is so needed in Fair Park, the largest investment ever in our city's crown jewel of our park system. 6 venues, the Cotton Bowl, which we all love, the Music Hall at Fair Park, the band shell, the Automobile and Centennial buildings, and the Coliseum. So it's going to be at the bottom of a long ballot on November 8th, and please vote yes. And now I am delighted to share with you some of the results of our 2022 perception survey for downtown. Everybody who took it has a vested interest and cares about this city. And DDI works tirelessly every day as the principal advocate, champion, and steward of downtown. I'm going to start by kind of setting the table to share with you where we are today. There is so much positive momentum. It's almost mind-boggling if you've lived in Dallas for a long time. We have 15,000 residents who call downtown Dallas home. This is up from only a couple of hundred in the late 90s. We have $4 billion of planned and active development in our city center, and we have been the beneficiary of $8 billion in development in approximately the last 25 years. It's amazing. We are still such an important hub for employment with 4,000 employers. Many of you represent them today, and we're so proud and glad and appreciative that you choose to live and work in Dallas and bring people down here. All of this investment has created an amazing smorgasbord of amenities in downtown. We are the envy of the country and other cities when you consider the green space that's been developed, with 4 signature parks and more than 20 acres of green space. Thanks to partnerships with the city's Parks Department and Parks for Downtown Dallas, this has transformed our urban environment, making it more livable and pleasant every day. We boast more than 200 restaurants and bars and 70 stores, offering everything people need if they are living and working in downtown. And the 50 now buildings where people live, these residential mixed-use developments, have amenities that compete well across our metroplex and against other cities. DDI is the partner in all of this. We want to work with our stakeholders to maintain this vibrancy and create a sustainable development that fosters this engine for economic prosperity and keeps the entire region competitive. We believe that downtown is uniquely suited to be the face of our entire region and city. So, what did we hear from our survey respondents? Well, before I dive into the data, show of hands, who was able to complete the survey? Thank you. We had almost 1,600 respondents. The first piece of feedback I did get was that it's long, and that's because we had a lot that we needed to find out. We have not been able to conduct this survey since 2018. Prior to that, they did it every 2 years, and for a couple of reasons, we decided not to do this in 2020. And the responses this time have been overwhelming. It will give us lots to dig into for the next couple of months as we plan our work going forward. Several key themes emerged loud and clear. The top line, downtown is full of new energy. Coming out of the pandemic, we have more new residents than ever before. We have new parks, lots of new amenities and attractions, and we need to keep this momentum going because a lot of these employees and residents are new to downtown, and we want to retain them and make them our biggest cheerleaders. We have incredible data now that's showing our work promoting walkability is working. We are a more walkable city, and people are taking advantage of this as we are a true, authentic urban environment now. We have better access to what people need. We did get some feedback about what they still want, and I'll share that too. And we are constantly working to activate and engender a true neighborhood feel so that people have that unique sense of what it feels like to be in downtown Dallas. Well, I'll start with saying downtown skewed younger and younger over the last 4 years. The millennials have arrived, and our biggest age buckets are between 25 and 44. It makes sense during the pandemic. We are the environment where I think a lot of people who are young want to be, and that's great, although we want to retain them. And shockingly, this really was impressive. Almost half of the respondents that live in downtown have been here for less than 2 years, meaning they came to Dallas during the pandemic. Unlike urban centers around the country, we did not empty out. In fact, many of the restaurants and bars will tell you it was the residents that carried us through the pandemic because they were conscientious in ordering their pizza or going to get drinks in this neighborhood. And so we are the envy in many ways that our momentum has kept going, and we have more planned developments coming. Interestingly, fur babies, your dogs and cats, are still 3 more likely in households downtown than living children. In summary, about 70% of the respondents report being very satisfied with downtown living. So there's still some upward movement to address concerns and get that number higher. Why? Well, these reasons did not surprise us. People who choose to live downtown prefer it over the suburbs. It's a pretty clear choice. And we have great housing that they fall in love with. We heard over and over, I love my building, I love my neighborhood, and I'm close in proximity to nightlife and attractions and my workplace. And so we're thrilled that those things really are drawing people. Where people are living is in line with where DDI has seen a lot of development. We did let people from Uptown and Deep Ellum and the Cedars do our survey because DDI considers it all one giant connected neighborhood for livability. And the East Quarter and Farmers Market are coming on strong. Interestingly, Reunion, which is kind of where the convention center is now, is not right now where people are living, and truly is an opportunity when we think about new neighborhoods to emerge on the southern side of City Hall. So what about the people who work in downtown? Well, 2022 has been the year of the comeback to the office, and Dallas and the Texas markets are leading the nation. We're on average about 10 percentage points higher than our coastal city peers. In our survey, 50% of respondents report commuting to the office most days of the week. And if you're down here every day like I am, you feel it especially on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, at lunch or on the streets. But once again, a ton of people are new to downtown. 40% have been here less than 2 years. So we've got to continue to make this the place that everybody wants to work in, and I think we do better than any suburban office park could ever do in downtown. DDI always starts with clean and safe, and many of our field team members are here today. They truly are the people 365 days a year working to make downtown as clean and safe as possible. Every urban city in the country, probably in the world since the beginning of time, has struggled with this. We did hear a lot of positive feedback. The pet waste one is fascinating because we are also on track. We have given out 45,000 pet waste bags this year in our distribution points and are on track to break a record this year on that dimension. And so the scale of what is needed to keep downtown as safe as possible is the task now. We are bringing new data to bear with better metrics and tracking so that we can be more responsive on addressing all of these. We also are digging in on the noise issue because we have been getting that anecdotally more, and it's probably a sign of things coming back online as the pandemic was winding down. That part of that 24-hour vibrancy often means there's more noise at night. And so how we address that and work on that issue is one thing that'll be future work. 3/4 of our respondents are concerned about our unsheltered neighbors in downtown Dallas. And what's fascinating is 4 years ago, DDI did not have a homeless outreach team. So now we have security, our clean team, and a homeless outreach team comprised of 5 full-time individuals who do amazing work. And in Dallas overall, a real kudos to the city's Office of Homeless Solutions, who is here today, and our partners at Metro Dallas Homeless Alliance, which is now Housing Forward. It's easier to say. But we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to work with them on Dallas's real-time rapid rehousing process, which is working to rehome 2,600 of our neighbors, and not only provide housing, but to connect our clients with the services that they need to restabilize their lives. And it is working. This kind of process worked very well in Houston, and we're doubling down on it in Dallas and very encouraged about the future. The good news is that our respondents were clear that we think Dallas is in line with peer cities like Austin or Chicago, and we're doing better than many other cities across the country as we are grappling with this on a national level. So, downtown is still, I believe, the best place with the full mix of urban amenities anywhere. This slide summarizes a lot of data in one place, but the responses were overwhelming. 90+% report dining in downtown. I don't know how it's not 99%, but I'll take it. 3/4 of workers leave to go to lunch when they're in the office, and that will only go up as more people come back. It's a very high capture rate. Over 70% are staying into the evenings. And here we are today in the Arts District on Flores Street. And so our cultural amenities, whether it's coming to a concert here or a play or a museum or the Majestic Theater, continue to drive that urban arts and culture vibrancy that we need. Plus, we have such beautiful amenities in the restaurants and the historic hotels that have really opened up downtown. Where are people going? Well, this is pretty much in line with what we would have guessed. The Main Street District is leading the way, but Farmers Market and Uptown and Deep Ellum and Bishop Arts are in there as well. A special shout out to the AT&T Discovery District. Over 90% of our respondents reported visiting, and over a third have been 10 times, which would certainly be all of the DDI team. And if you're in the Discovery District on a Saturday, like Texas OU weekend when I stopped by, we couldn't capture tourist feedback. But what that zone has done in the center of our city for visitors cannot be stressed enough. It has been transformative, and we're so grateful for it. The parks have made such a difference in downtown Dallas, and it's shocking to me that Clyde Warren Park just celebrated its 10th birthday. But think about what that green space added between downtown and uptown has done for our city. And it's really wonderful that Carpenter Park, which just opened in May, is already in the list of top 5, and we can't wait for Harwood Park to come next year. So thank you again to our partners with Parks for Downtown Dallas and the Parks Department. So DDI is always working to make it easier to get to downtown and to get around downtown. This has been core to our vision and our work for the last 2 decades. And this slide makes me so happy because there was a 21% increase in walkability, biking, and scootering. And yes, scooters are coming back, and DDI has been working hand in hand with the city to make them a more smooth influx into the city as an option for getting around with better technology and better oversight of the vendors. However, this is Dallas, and parking is still key, so we always want to balance it. We know many people drive in every day, so ease of parking for people themselves, as well as visitors and patrons, remains a core focus. Dallas has a long history of being a retail mecca with Neiman Marcus and 4510, and we were curious, did the pandemic make the push for a downtown grocery store any less because of grocery delivery or picking up groceries? Nope. 62%, by far and away, still the #1 request is a full-time grocery store in the downtown core. I do want to note that people did say how happy they were with the beautiful new full-size grocery stores that have opened up just outside on Field Street and Live Oak. So there are better offerings for sure than 4 or 5 years ago. And Target and Trader Joe's were the number 1 and 2 national brands that were mentioned. Both of these have successful urban formats. And DDI's economic development team is working to try to continue to sell the case for downtown to many of these national formats so that they see and come do business in downtown. Other top requests were bookstores, wine bars, and more clothing and just general retail. So in summary, we are at a moment of tremendous optimism and momentum in downtown Dallas. We have 69% of our current residents reporting being extremely satisfied, and we want to bump that up. And many of them are new to downtown. They came in the last 2 years when, let's face it, life was a little weird. So I think things will only get better. For DDI, the emphasis on clean, safe, and taking care of our neighbors experiencing homelessness remain our top priorities 365 days a year. And it's working. Authentic urbanism that fosters vibrancy and walkability and letting us all be together in a unique, beautiful urban setting is keeping the momentum in downtown going. So today, downtown is uniquely positioned to build a national profile for Dallas and to foster more workers and more economic prosperity in our city. But DDI has been working on this for several years, and we've put together some beautiful videos that you never see if you're in Dallas because we promote them to others who are looking at Dallas. And so I'll thank you, and I will let the video say this message for what others see about downtown Dallas. Thank you.
There's a lot of energy in downtown Dallas. We're connected to the community.
Being able to walk to a park, being able to have balance even during your day is a really important aspect.
Quality work environment inside the space and outside the space. Vibrancy matters. You want to be where the action is. And the action has been in downtown Dallas, and it's going to continue to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage our 60th Mayor of Dallas, Eric Johnson, along with today's moderator, Market President and Publisher of the Dallas Business Journal, Ollie Chandhok.
Now,
that's creep me out, man. Jeez. Hey, everybody. I'm Ollie Chandhok, Business Journal Publisher and President. Very happy to have you all here. Mayor Eric Johnson, let's give him a round of applause.
Good to see you.
So Mayor Johnson has been the mayor now for a little over 3 years. It's been slightly turbulent over the last 3 years, not because of anything you did, but because the world changed. A lot of crazy things happened. COVID set in. We had that ridiculous ice storm, if you remember that, and all kinds of stuff. So you've had a pretty tough gig over the last 3 years. Talk to us about what drives you, what motivates you every day.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today, everyone. It's great to be here. I hope everyone can still hear after that loud noise. That was something. But you know, what motivates me today is what motivated me 4 years ago when I ran, but I think even more so now, after having been mayor for over 3 years. I'm motivated by the future. I'm motivated by what I see happening in the city, and frankly, I just want to be a part of it, because I think that when I look at what we've been able to accomplish, even while being in a pandemic in this city over the past 3.5 years or so, it's pretty extraordinary. I'm not sure we do the best job of tooting our own horn, but I will tell you just a couple of things that just have me very excited about the future of Dallas and why I want to continue to be in a position to actually participate in what I think is going to be something that we look back on years later and say, this was an inflection point for Dallas. This is when Dallas went from being a great American city to being one of the great cities in the world on the international stage. But if we start with public safety, right? Everybody in this room knows the story about what's going on in the United States. It's literally the topic that every race across the country, every partisan political race is in some way, shape, or form being impacted by, because crime, particularly violent crime, has really gone up significantly in most major cities in the United States over the past 2+ years. Really, in some cities, going back 3-4 years, but it's been really exacerbated by the pandemic. Dallas has been this glaring exception. We actually have seen our violent crime, fall in this city over the past 2 years in a significant way. 12% this year so far over last year, which was also a reduction over the year before. So we're seeing really great results in public safety, and there are reasons for that. I'm happy to talk about those at some point, but I'm also very optimistic about the business case that we're able to make for this city that is different than a lot of other places. We have been reducing taxes in this city every year, but this past year, I really talked to our city manager and expressed to him a desire to make a significant reduction in our tax rate. And we passed a budget that went into effect on October 1st that saw the single largest year-over-year reduction in our tax rate in over 40 years. And our tax rate today now is the lowest absolute tax rate that we've had in over 16 years in the city of Dallas. So that's good for business, and I'm excited about that. And we're not done. Right. I think this council really is committed to making sure that we are able to compete with our surrounding suburbs and the rest of the state and really the country for all the really cool development opportunities that there are out there. And we don't want taxes to be a reason why we're not able to compete. And there are other things like what we're doing in terms of bringing investment to the city, some of the really cool projects that are coming to downtown and throughout our city. Everyone knows about the Goldman Sachs deal. There's plenty of other things that we're working on, but just in the past 4 years alone, we've added in new construction, not valuation increase, but in new construction, $14 billion with a B in the city in the past 4 years. So it's a great story, and I think the next 4 to 5 years will be even better. And I'm excited to be a part of it. I want to continue to work on it.
That's awesome to hear. A lot of great things. It's easy to stay motivated when that trajectory continues, right? It's
all good news about Dallas. It really is. It's a national story.
Absolutely. So we heard Jennifer talk about Proposition A. Mm-hmm. You are a elected official, and we have the council here, and we're on city property, so they can't tell you anything, but I can. I work for the Business Journal, and we are a private company, and one of the things that I can tell you that the City Council and the Mayor have advocated for you to vote yes for Proposition A. Let's talk about the convention center. Let's talk about the convention center. Talk to me about the current conditions of Kay Bailey Hutchison, and not Kay Bailey Hutchison, but the convention center.
Ambassador Hutchison is fine, everyone.
Kay Bailey's doing well. She's doing really well. I interviewed her a couple weeks ago.
I saw her the other day. She's fine.
She's great. And talk to me about the city's master plan to redevelop the convention center, and what are the long-term impacts of that?
Okay. I think I'm looking out for my lawyers out there. I think they'll give me some sort of hand signals if I get off the rails too far. But I think I can say that I did pen an op-ed that is in the morning news. I would encourage everyone to take a look at. It really does lay out, I think, the case for why we need to pass this. But the basic idea here is we think if we reorient the convention center where its opening is facing downtown, that it will free up approximately 30 acres of land in that area, that if we are smart about how to develop it, and we have a master plan that we are working with all the folks who have an interest in that area, we think if we do this, it could catalyze another between $2 and $3 billion just in that part of downtown alone. So if you think about what I just said, right, about $14 billion in new construction over 4 years, we're talking about $3 billion just in one part of downtown. This is putting jet fuel into an already incredible economic development story for our city. And what we think that will do to that part of downtown is make that so vibrant in terms of economic activity, residential, retail, you name it. I mean, we really could accomplish quite a bit with that convention center being reoriented and the land that's freed up. Now, it of course is also a convention center, so we are concerned about its use as a convention center. And if we're honest, and we should always be as policymakers about these things, it's not in great shape. It's not the most well designed in terms of its layout. And so we get our share of conventions because we're Dallas and people like coming here. But the building is not selling anything. Like, it's almost in spite of the building that we're succeeding. But that can be different. And that's what this would do. This would create a funding stream of about $1.5 billion that we could use both between the convention center and the Fair Park to take to what should be and already are, generating visits from people, but they should be things that we are absolutely proud of. I can't say that we're proud of our convention center right now. I'm proud of the person the convention center is named after. And by the way, again, she's in great shape.
She's in good health,
She's
yes.
fine.
Very good health.
She's fine. But I want that building to be something that we are proud of and that is actually an attraction for folks and that our residents can use year-round, and because it's actually a place people want to go hang out. Fair Park is the same way. It's a crown jewel of the city. We have the State Fair out there every year, and we understand how important that asset is. But I have my Mayor's Back to School Fair out there every year. We go out there every year for Texas OU and for these other events. If you're honest, we haven't done right by those buildings. That is the largest collection of Art Deco buildings in the world. I mean, it's a national landmark, and the bathrooms are not in great shape. There are places where the place is literally crumbling, and it's hard to go to the residents of a city with a bond for stuff like that, because they're like, well, you already built that. That's old. You know, people want to hear about something new you're going to do. And it's a lot to ask. It's a lot of money. $300 million is a lot of money to ask taxpayers to pay. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity because we wouldn't be paying for this. This would be paid by tourists who are paying hotel occupancy taxes to stay in our hotels, and it would increase the rate by 2 percentage points, to be accurate. I don't want to say 2%. It would be 2 percentage points, and it would still keep us in line with the national average for these things and make us we'd stay competitive, but we'd have this funding stream that we could do these two very important things for our city. So this is a no-brainer. This is, you don't want to say it's free money, but it's a unique opportunity that state law has provided us. I saw Representative Angie Chin-Button out in the audience earlier. The reality is that she's so humble, she doesn't brag, but she was instrumental in us getting that. And we ought to give her a round of applause for what she did down in Austin. But that is not something that everybody in every city in the state can do. We have this opportunity in Dallas to do it because of a change in state law, and we absolutely should. And frankly, we'd be foolish if we didn't. And I hope the lawyers aren't like going on me here, but that's it. That's the answer.
It's a good answer.
Hope I don't get prosecuted.
Real good. Real good answer. Not my fault, but
Right.
That was a good answer. All right, so you've touched on, and you talk about this quite a bit, public safety is a significant factor in the success of your city. Our police chief was just elected the chief of, it's a long title.
It's called the Major City Chiefs Organization.
North America, US and Canada, the whole thing.
Right.
So he's doing a lot of things very well, along with your help.
He is.
I've heard from my counterparts in other Business Journal cities, and they ask, what's going on in Dallas? Why is the overall crime rate coming down? In fact, you and I talked about this outside for a minute. Tell us how this is happening in such a major city, and how's it going to continue?
Yeah, I actually know all the reasons why. I just hope I can get through them very quickly. I mean, number one, we actually have a really good police chief now. Not every city does. We didn't always. We have one now. He's really, really good. What makes him good? He's humble enough to actually understand that police work, while it's a unique person that wants to go into law enforcement, and there's a certain amount of courage and bravery and all that type of stuff, there's also, in some cases, a tendency to want to just act on instinct and act on sort of, this is how I feel we should be doing things. He's actually a unique blend of that traditional police officer that has the respect of his rank and file, but he also believes that there's a role for criminologists and academics who actually study this from a sort of from a broader perspective than being in the field. And he did something that I asked the previous police chief to do and didn't really get done in a serious way, and that is, as soon as he got the job, he went and asked for a violent crime reduction plan to be developed by criminologists. He found some criminologists at the University of Texas South in San Antonio who developed a plan that said, this is what you need to do. It didn't involve anything like doing stop and frisk or anything like that, but it involved some targeted police work in some areas that were disproportionately contributing to the city's violent crime. He had enough humility to ask for help. He got that help. And then he had the respect of his rank and file to actually be able to implement it. And now the police department, the morale is higher. They are focused on the task of this plan. And the result has been extraordinary reduction in violent crime in the city while it's going up everywhere else. That's on the police side. Simultaneously, on the city side, and I got to give the city council credit for this, we did what we were supposed to do as elected officials, and the city manager's office did what they were supposed to do in terms of actually putting resources into the recommendations that a private resident-led group that I formed called the Mayor's Task Force on Safe Communities. They also consulted criminologists and said, what can we do to reduce crime in a city that does not involve law enforcement? Both because law enforcement is pretty overburdened in Dallas, we have fewer officers than we need, and because we think there are some things that really are more community-oriented that need to be addressed. What are those things? They went out and did a national best practice analysis, came back and told us we need to do 4 things. We need to remediate blight, we need to improve lighting in high crime areas, we need to encourage more social-emotional learning in our public schools, and so we did all those things, and frankly, it has worked. And so between that and some efforts we've made in the summer, through our summer safety campaign to get our kids more involved in things in the summer, we've seen crime fall, and it's been good for business, it's been good for everybody, and so it's a great story too.
Yep, absolutely great story to tell, and it leads to all kinds of other successes that we're experiencing at the moment, right?
That's exactly right.
So now here we sit in the Arts District. Throughout the pandemic, the arts community, the arts, all arts organizations were hit, some of the hardest hit by the pandemic. This area continues to thrive. Talk about the Arts District and what are we doing so well here?
I love this area, by the way. I mean, I was just here, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Robert Cray performed here a couple weeks ago, and I was there, and I had dinner at Ellie's, and I'm a big frequenter of Tayan over here. This area is doing what it's doing, I think, because of the reason that, frankly, everything that's good that happens in Dallas happens, and that is the people.
Yeah.
We will things into existence in this city. I mean, this was a very deliberate act to create this arts district, a very conscious decision, partly in response to the Boeing situation where we didn't land Boeing, and we took very seriously some of the things that we were told were some of the reasons. But this arts district is amazing. It's amazing because of, I think, the programming. Like I said, Robert Cray, great Grammy Award-winning artists. We get great shows and performances all the time here. It's the hotels and the restaurants that I mentioned, but really it has to do with the people in this city who, when they see a need, they just step up and they create where things don't exist. I was looking at the park data and saw Clyde Warren #1, right? The #1 park amenity in the city it's an overpass. It's a park suspended in the air. We made that up. We did that. We created something out of absolutely nothing, and now they're doing it in Atlanta. They're doing it in a bunch of others. We're being copied across the country, and so I think that's why it's so great. It's because it's just the Dallas way to just create things and address needs, and people don't wait for the government to do things. We partner with people. So it's a combination of city government, nonprofits, for-profit sector, and we just have an amazing ecosystem when it comes to the arts and, frankly, everything else in the city that I think is the reason why it's been so successful. I mean, I love this building. I love this area. We spend a lot of time here with the family, so it's great.
I see you active in the community. It's terrific to see.
Love it.
Yeah. I'll tell a quick story. So I moved here from Greensboro, North Carolina 4 years ago, and everybody was upset. Hey, we're sorry to see you go. We're sad, but we're going to come visit you in Dallas. And I said, great, come visit, right? And they said, we're not coming to see you. We want to see Clyde Warren Park.
Right.
And so it's a real thing. So Greensboro, little old Greensboro, is making an effort on something like that. And you've probably seen them here checking things out.
That's
Walker
right.
Sanders and crew.
No, people come visit it all the time. They want to replicate it. We're going to replicate it here ourselves with the Southern Gateway. So
yeah, absolutely. So you and I talk about this sometimes. The importance of distinguishing downtown Dallas or the city of Dallas from the rest of the region, Frisco, Plano, Irving, all of the other suburbs that are having success, right? How do we distinguish ourselves? How do we set downtown Dallas specifically apart from these booming suburbs?
Yeah, look, I love that question actually, because I feel like before I was mayor, when I would I didn't see this conversation happening a lot at all, the conversation about Dallas and its role within the region. I heard a lot about regionalism. We kind of just ended the conversation there. And I think the presumption was, hey, what's good for the region is good for Dallas. And that is true to some extent. But Dallas has a unique role within the region. We're the engine that drives this region. We're the reason there is a region. I mean, Dallas is not just the biggest city in an 8 million person region. Dallas is the heart and soul of that region. Dallas is the raison d'etre for that region. So we have to think about that when we are talking about our city. And I think downtown Dallas is part of the argument for why Dallas, the city, is unique and special, and people should be looking at Dallas when they're thinking about relocating a business or relocating a family in your case. Because I think downtown Dallas is really emblematic of where the action is in a city, the pulse and the heartbeat of a city, and what makes Dallas different than one of our suburbs. If you really think about it, what our suburbs are, and I know there are folks here who live out there and have friends out there, and I'm not trying to disparage them, but I mean,
show of hands.
But these places started off as our bedroom communities. Okay, they started off as places where people could live a little more affordably, but their lives were completely in Dallas. And what happened over time is Dallas's success warranted more and more people moving to those bedroom communities. So they got bigger population-wise, and then they got more, revenue and more ambitious, and they decided they would start trying to, in essence, be more like Dallas, be more full-blown cities in their own right. And if you think about what the things that they're trying to do out there, they're just trying to do what we're already doing, what we've already done. They're saying, well, we need our own performing arts center. We need more retail. We need more this, that, and the other. Well, what they're saying is we want to be more like the big city. So they're becoming less like suburbs every day, and they're trying to, emulate what we've always been. But here's the rub. You will never be better than the original. Dallas will always be Dallas, will always be number one, and we're always going to be the best. So that's the deal. And so because we're not resting on our laurels and we're constantly trying to improve, I welcome that competition. I don't shy away from it. I don't pretend like it's not there because I hear them talk, and I know what their pitch is when they get companies out there. They want to talk about, oh, the infrastructure's a little newer out here. Oh, our schools are better. Oh, it's safer. But we have an argument to make, and we have a silver bullet in our arsenal too, and it's downtown. It's downtown. You don't have that skyline. You don't have those historic hotels. You don't have that arts district. You don't get that programming, because the reality is we do get the best shows. We are a legitimate, full-blown, great American city, soon to be considered one of the great world cities, and you just don't have that in our surrounding suburbs. And that is the case that I make every day when I'm arguing for Dallas.
Absolutely. I like your efforts in that respect. Let's build our core, right? And this is the core. So let's shift a little bit to economic development. A lot of success lately. CBRE, Galderma, Goldman Sachs is developing what could be called the North End, a whole nother area. Talk about those victories. How does that continue? How did those come about?
Yeah, I mean, it's so. You asked me earlier, like, why I'm so excited still. Why after the majority of my mayoralty has been in a pandemic. The majority of my mayoralty was a Zoom mayoralty. Why am I still so excited? It's because if you think about it, if you think about what we were able to do with one arm tied behind our back in a pandemic, in a recession, with EF3 tornadoes hitting, Preston Hollow, and 1,000-year flooding events, and winter freezes, and the George Floyd protests and the social unrest, and having to declare emergency after emergency after. If you think about all of that, because the whole country went through a pandemic, I get that. The whole country went through the George Floyd situation, I get that. But half that list I just rattled off, that was unique to Texas and unique to Dallas. We've been through a lot, folks. We have been through a lot. And for us to be on the other side of this, to basically be the first out of the pandemic, I think it was the U.S. Travel Association that called Dallas comeback city and said Dallas is the first out of the gate on the pandemic. They have moved on from the pandemic. They have $14 billion worth of new development later. Up to now 11 Fortune 500 headquarters in the city, 25 in the region, and counting. Our Office of Economic Development at the city is working day and night on deals I don't even know about half the time to get more here. So those successes were not an accident. The word is out about Dallas and how seriously we're taking safety, how seriously we're taking taxes, how we've addressed our public corruption issues and created an Office of Inspector General, fully funded it to go and make sure that people don't have to make backroom deals and pay people under the table to get deals done here. We're doing things right in Dallas, and that's what I think people are noticing. And they want to be here because I think our people are so resilient, our people are so, it's a business-friendly environment, and it's just a great town. It has everything you really want. You know, it's got all the arts you want, it's got the professional sports you want, it's got the quality of life you want for a tremendous value, and it really does sell itself. And it's a real privilege to be a part of it right now, and because I think we are kind of just about to really take off in a way that even by our standards is extraordinary.
Yeah, and so one of the original corporate relocations that really planted their flag was AT&T in 2008. That's a major move, and then they doubled down with the Discovery District. Talk about how important that was to sort of initiate this progress.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe it's been that long ago, right? But so obviously having one of the world's premier, not just telecommunications companies, but companies have their world headquarters in your city, anchoring your downtown with that many employees was a win when it happened, and it's continued to be a win. But I have to say, they're doubling down, as you said, on the Discovery District has been, and Jennifer said it very well, I mean, that has been transformative was the word she used. It has been. I walked there, I think, at least 2 to 3 times a week from City Hall, walked for lunch. And I love Babushi over there. It's my favorite restaurant over there. I highly recommend it. If anybody hasn't tried it, it's great Mediterranean cuisine. But the point is, it's an amazing place. I think it's one of those places where when you're there, the cool factor is off the charts, and the energy is great, and it's a place that you're proud is in your city because you know when visitors see it, they're like, oh, okay, this is a modern American city that's got something going on. It's the same feel you get when you're at Clyde Warren. It's the same feel you get when you get at our new downtown parks that we've built recently and that we still have one more to go with Harwood. I mean, these are some really cool cutting-edge spaces that use technology in unique ways. I mean, that fountain, that Nancy Best fountain at Clyde Warren is incredible, right? This is really, really cool stuff. And I think that the Discovery Garden, between what the convention center will be, to the Discovery Garden, to the East Quarter, and everything that's going to fill in between, because that's the whole gamut of downtown. It's hard to imagine, as I lived downtown as a young single and then as a new married person, to think about what it is now, even from when I got married 15 years ago, is incredible.
So talk about that a little bit. So you lived downtown when you were younger, when you were single. Life
still
changes.
Young.
You're still sort of young, right?
When I was young.
I'm older
Jesus.
than you. We're good. Yeah, we're good. So,
what kind of interview is this?
We're getting aggressive here.
Yeah.
We're getting aggressive. No, I'm an old man, so don't worry.
All
right. So talk to me about the lessons learned from the downtown of your youth to the downtown of your just a slightly older. Hey, this is I can't pick on him, but yes, this is slightly older.
The downtown of my youth.
Okay.
Gosh, back in the old days when we had horse and buggies downtown. I'm so glad, anyway, no, seriously though, I appreciate the question. So if I think of my actual youth, right, like when I was a child growing up, downtown, you would have found it crazy if you were describing it as a neighborhood, if you were describing it as a part of our city. Downtown was a place you went to. And if you were like us and our family, I think it was a pretty scary place because pretty much it was a central business district. It was big, tall buildings where people with, suits and briefcases were there working, and it was pretty scary. And like a lot of one-way streets, and like, terrified you'd go down one the wrong way and, get hurt, like it was a kind of a scary place. Didn't feel at all like a neighborhood. That's when I was a child. You fast forward to my relative youth when I was a single attorney working at Haynes & Boone downtown, right, when they were still downtown. They hadn't moved to Victory yet. They were at 901 Main. And I bought a condo at the 2220 Canton Lofts. And I had an 867 square foot condo I loved dearly and had a great time living there. But to be honest with you, it was the community in the building that made it great, and the views were spectacular. I was one of the, I had the smallest unit in the building that had a balcony, so I had a downtown view. It was really extraordinary. But really, all you kind of had going on down there at the time was a struggling farmers market, really trying to find its way, and then not a whole lot else. You had to go to Deep Ellum, really. You had to go east if you wanted to, really have something to do. To today, no comparison. I mean, the East Quarter down there, what that has become, which is right now where my condo would have been, right in that area, and what it's going to be when Hardwood Park comes online, and everything that's filled in between. Downtown is now a neighborhood, 15,000 residents living there and growing. The green spaces are critical because that is what, to me, makes it feel like not just a place where people are, like when I was living down there, a lot of it was about being close to where I was working. This is now truly live your life in this area, places to go and enjoy the outdoors. You may work there, you may not even work downtown. You may choose downtown for its own sake and work someplace else in the city. The parks, I think, are what really is the difference maker. All the new green space is what makes it feel like a true neighborhood for people with children or people with pets. It's a different place even than it was when I was a young single and a young married person, and it's better. It's a lot better.
Absolutely. It's 20 new acres of parks in the last 15 years.
That's a lot, and we're not done. We're not done. I mean, we're not even done with the downtown parks. Like I said, I mentioned Hardwood Park a few times. We're expanding Clyde Warren. It's really quite the story.
It is an impressive story. So we're coming up on time here. Last question I have for you: your vision. What does downtown Dallas look like in, let's say, 2030?
2030 is not far.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 8 years from now. So, I think more of what we've been doing, but I think even more success doing it. So I predict there will be more residents than we have now downtown. I don't think we'll see and this is something to be mindful of. I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion that your downtown is going to increase in density and in population. I think Jennifer Scripps and I were talking about this before we came on today. She said her counterparts around the country, some of them are crying in their drinks at night because it's not the same story. People are leaving downtowns in a lot of these cities across the country. The story is not as good. There are public safety issues with homelessness, which I saw the surveys. We are going to have to do more for the downtown area in terms of even more than we're doing now on public safety. We're trying to hire more police officers, which should be helpful. On the homeless front, we have to, I think, and you're going to hear me talk about this a lot more. Again, I'm not an anti-regionalist. I just think Dallas needs to assert itself. But homelessness is one of those areas where if we really think about it, we probably ought to have a more regional approach to how we deal with homelessness. The city of Dallas should not be bearing the brunt alone for a regional public health problem, is what it really boils down to. People may be uncomfortable talking about this, but I'm not, because I have to try to solve these problems. The reality is a lot of the folks who you see unsheltered, homeless, who are living on our streets and who, frankly, the people in that survey are talking about, because they're not talking about the people who are sheltered. They're talking about the folks they're seeing downtown. Those are mental health problems, those are drug addiction problems, and those are folks who in many cases, and I'm sure we're going to collect data and show this, whose last known address is not a City of Dallas address. There are folks who've come from someplace else because, frankly, we're the ones who invest in the services. Dallas is the city with the compassion and the heart that's building these resources and creating these rapid rehousing programs and spending millions of tax dollars to deal with this when our surrounding suburbs are both not doing it, in some cases even maybe encouraging folks who need these services to come to Dallas, and then bragging about how low their tax rate is. I'm just telling you, I'm the mayor of Dallas. I'm not going to lie to my people. The reality is we spend money that we collect from you to address this issue, and we should be bearing that burden, I think, more regionally, and should be sharing that with our surrounding municipalities throughout this county and throughout Collin County and Denton County. And they're coming from all over this area. So, but that's something we can do, and I think by 2030, if we take that approach, we hire the more officers, we get this economic development corporation that we formed really going to really stimulate even more development downtown by having more corporations pick downtown Dallas versus our suburbs. I think in 2030, you will see a downtown that has more people in it, more corporations and businesses located in it, fewer homeless people or people experiencing homelessness that are unsheltered. Again, the homeless numbers also include the people who are sheltered, but I'm talking about the ones that you see who are on the streets who are suffering and living through these harsh winters and brutal summers. I think you'll see those numbers down too, and I think you'll see lower crime. I think that's really the path that we're on. I mean, that's where the data is showing, and we're headed. We just got to keep a foot on the gas.
Absolutely, that's terrific. Folks, for his time spent with us and for all of his efforts over the last 3 years, let's give Mayor Johnson a big round of applause.